Probably some of you already saw me on one of your previous meetups. I'm CTO at StudyTube. I also got title of Google Developer Expert. I'm trying to help meetups. I'm actively helping Angular Kharkiv, that is in Ukraine, and a Dutch Angular group. Also, from time to time, I'm doing workshops for Angular, JavaScript, and security topics, security in web. And also, when I have time, I create episode of screencasts for pro topics. I provided here a link, and also you can use a shortcut Angular Ninja. This is a link to YouTube. Very short videos, kind of micro-learning, like 3-5 minutes each, with very exact explanation of some complex topics. That's the set of episodes are also about change detection there, so you can watch this presentation and also watch those micro-learnings. And also, for any questions according to this presentation or other things, you're more than welcome to ping me in my Twitter by this hashtag. So now moving to our topic. Why change detection? Why change detection is so interesting and important for us? And obviously, because of performance. We want our applications to be as much performance as possible. And if we have performance problems, probably we are losing our users. They don't want to wait. That's why we want to improve performance. If we're speaking about performance, we can define two groups. One is about network performance. And we could also define some points here for network performance. When we say network, it means that we would like to provide content for our user as soon as possible. It means that we would like to have our bundle size as minimum as possible. That's why we need to think about bundle optimization. Also, we could render content on server, and we could think how to provide already pre-rendered content, already ready HTML. With help of different techniques, we could also achieve it. And also, in case of offline, in case if we would like to cache some things, not to reload it again, we can use service workers. Second block is about runtime. So application was successfully loaded, all the assets was already loaded, but we still could face some issues. And here, the main topics for us are zones, change detection itself, and it could be web workers that we can use for some really complex computation operations. In this presentation, I would like to focus on two topics: change detection, our main topic, and zones, that is very much related to change detection. So, speaking about zones, it's good to understand what zones are. First of all, you probably already know that zones in Angular, it's about zone.js library. That was standalone library for quite a long time. Then they included it to Angular packages, but still it's separate file. So you can check this file separately. What it does? It tries to control asynchronous operations. And now we would like to understand how it does it. Let's look at this simplified example. We have setTimeout function, And before it, we have our zone.js code. Our task is create such a code that we will be able to control set timeout when our action started and when it will be ended. How can we achieve it? And the right answer here, we are doing kind of monkey patching. So in this case, we would like to override set timeout function. First, what we need to do just to save old one somewhere in variable and create our new one, set timeout. And in this set timeout, we just wrap all set timeout in, and now we always know when set timeout, this one or anything else that we write in code started. Also, by writing code in such a way, we also know when it finishes. This is very simplified version of zone.js, but I made it to show you exact concept what zone.js does. So it's very simple monkey patching of all asynchronous functions, asynchronous methods of browsers, such as set timeout, set interval, set immediate, and so on. Now we have control with this zone.js. We can move to NgZone that Angular uses. And in fact, NgZone is just a kind of wrapper over zone.js. And you can go at source code. I provided a link here yourself, and I really encourage you to look at the source code as often as possible. It's pretty much structured. It looks like a lot, but because it's structured, you can easily find all you need there. And NgZone is just one file. If you look in this file, there will be some functions. I highlighted here only important ones. When we enter zone, it starts, the functions are simplified. We have more lines here, so I highlighted only important ones. So when we start the zone, it runs function on enter. And there is kind of nested variable nesting. We increment nesting. And vice versa, when we leave the zone, nesting, we decrement nesting, and we also run method check stable. If you looked at simplifying version of check stable method, we see that we first gonna check whether nesting is 0. It means we could have zone inside zone inside zone to be sure that we went out the root one, and also that we don't have any microtasks in a queue. And then we run this, or even not run, emit this observable on microtasks empty. So that's basically it, what NgZone. There are a lot of different edge cases, if, else, and more conditions, but that's the main thing. So now we need to focus on microtasks empty. What is this and why do we need it? In our application file, again, you have here exact link. You can find that we subscribe on this observable on microtasks empty. And inside new zone, we run special method tick. And if you look at simplified version of tick, what it does, it goes over all the views of current component, and on each view it runs change detection. So basically, when we're out of zone, when there is no more pending microtasks, we are running change detection. So that's the basically main function of NgZone. One more time, zone.js helps us to find all our asynchronous actions, and after it, NgZone knows when to run change detection. It is also possible to run our code outside. If we have some asynchronous operations that we would like not to trigger change detections, we just inject NgZone and use method run outside Angular. It means this code will not trigger zone, not trigger change detection via zones. But if by some callback of this code we still need zones, we can return the code back into zone with method NgZone run. And here some code, if it has some asynchronous operations, we will have change detection call here. And it's also good to understand when you are thinking about concepts of Angular that zones and change detection, they are connected, but it's not a one concept. You can run change detection without zones. You can run change detection yourself. You can switch off zones at all. In your application bootstrap, you can put settings NgZone noob, and then, for example, you can run this method of application tick yourself. Here I just provided a silly example that each 100 milliseconds you will run change detection. You can say that it's too often, like 10 times per second run change detection. But probably you will be surprised if you open like big application, enterprise one, or even just big one, that change detection runs much more often. So if you just switch off NgZones and try to run change detection, that could be hackish solution to optimize your application. I don't recommend you to do so because it will be not very clear probably for other developers in your team why did you do so and why change detection doesn't run for some cases, but it will work faster. And also speaking about zones, it's good to highlight that you can disable some properties. If you set this global variable to false, you can disable, for example, zone for timers if you don't want to run change detection for timers. And here is linked for all the options in the source code provided. Any questions about zone so far? NgZone, zone.js. Don't be shy to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have.
I will still ask, at what point would you, other than the speed part of loading, why would you turn off the zone, the zone.js?
So in which cases do you want to switch off zone.js?
Yes.
Some applications, they are pretty heavy and they try to handle change detection themselves. They don't want to run change detection on each asynchronous action, on each user action. It's quite huge on heavy applications, and they try to optimize it. That's also was preparation step to make NgZones optional and to maybe remove them from Angular at all. Core team is still discussing options how to remove zones, because zone.js is not perfect. The monkey patching that we discussed, it works for methods like setTimeout. But unfortunately, it will not work for async await functions, async await statements. And that's a big problem for zone.js, actually. So Angular core team is working on a concept that will be still convenient, but without zone usage. And this optional step is like first step to make it possible to remove zones at all. So now moving to second part is change detection itself. We already know that we have zones and we run change detection by zones. And now let's have a look what change detection is. We have our component tree. And it's good to understand that each component has own change detector. And when we have a synchronous event, our zone.js calls the tick method that runs change detection on root component. And then it goes to child component. And then it goes to child component. Then goes to the children. And that's super predictable and one directional tree. That if you work with AngularJS, you know that was like dirty cycle checking that was super unpredictable. It could update any part, but here we have like unidirectional tree. And speaking about optimization, we obviously saying that we have an Angular on push strategy. What is on push strategy? Let's say we have an object that we provide into components. We have user card and we provide data. Data is an object with two properties. And by some user change, we change one of the properties of this data object. It was Jack, and we made him John. So we changed the property. We provided like input data. Object is the same. Data object is the same. We just changed the property. So link is the same. But Angular still will check, will do change detection. Why? Exactly because it doesn't know whether data was changed. It's not very efficient. They basically made it to work each time, and each time to run all the change detectors. But there is a better solution. We can work with immutable objects. In this case, we do not change the property of the object, but we completely override the whole object. We create new object. And in our user card component, we add the property change detection. And we put change detection strategy from default to on push. And in this case, what happens? We provided the same element, and when the link is the same, we do not run change detection. What's good about it? That it's not only about one component. If you switch one component to on push and data wasn't changed, you can skip a lot of child components as well from change detection. And it could be a huge optimization. Also, next obvious question. What if input wasn't changed, but we still want to run change detection? What should we do in this case? For example, we provided new data not via input, but we provided new data via kind of service. And service provides an observable, and we subscribe to this observable, and at a synchronous point of time, we got new piece of data. What should we do here? Because change detection will not be executed on this component, and new data will not be displayed in the view. Like when event happens, no change at all. So here we need to use specific method, mark for check. First of all, to use this method, we need to inject our link to our component change detector. And when we have our link to component change detector, we call method mark for check. How it works? We have an event, asynchronous event, or in our case, it's our service with observable and subscription. We got new data. Mark for check goes from our current component to the root component, and on its path, it marks all the components with the flag mark for check. And this next cycle of change detection, it goes over all the components, and it looks if the strategy was on push and this flag mark for check is true, it runs change detection anyway. So in this case, we have this branch of change detection components and we will end up with our current where we need to update the data. And after change detection, all the flags restore to initial state. So mark for check true, mark for check false, sorry. There is also kind of misunderstanding in Angular community. What's the difference between mark for check and detect changes? You can also watch my Angular Pro screencast with microlearnings and explanation there. But to highlight it here, I want to say that first of all, mark for check doesn't run change detection. It expects that change detection will run after. But if you have your NgZone off and for some reason there is no any event after, there is no guarantee that change detection will be executed at all. And detect changes method, it runs change detection. But it runs it not on root component, but it runs it on current component. And it means on all the child of these components. And one more method is detach that you can run on change detector link. in case if you have a heavy operation and you don't want change detection to be executed on some part of your elements, you can detach these elements from the tree at all. And also you can reattach them after. And here we have also clear difference between mark for check and detect changes. When you detach your component, if you even do mark for check, the component not in the tree at all. So it will be not change detection, even if you run change detection on the tree. But you can still run detect changes on detached element by calling method detect changes. Yeah, that's also an example for detach and reattach. And here I also provided kind of home task for you. It's a stack blitz, and you have application that is not optimized, and it looks like 10,000 SVG blocks. Each SVG block is component, and each SVG block you can we should wait a bit. Yeah, each SVG block okay, that's it's already too slow, probably because of broadcast, but you can control here amount of blocks based on performance of your application. It could be less, it could be more if you have more performance on your machine, but yeah, here you are. So you can drag and drop any block. And now it's pretty slow. You can, if you have powerful machine, you can add even more than 10,000 to make it really slow. And after, try to apply all the techniques that I just showed you on presentation to make it fast. You can use on-push strategy. You can play with NgZones because we have some events like mouse move, for example, that we probably want to detach from change detection. We can also detach elements, but the idea not to still to show the difference. If you see, I want to see the result. So it's not just switching off change detection. We still want to drag and drop pieces. So we don't want to break application. We want to make it just faster, and it's possible with all these techniques. Okay, that's all that I have for today. You are welcome to ask questions.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so mine is specifically for components that have input. How is this any different from, instead of injecting the change detection class in the constructor, how is it different from using the lifecycle methods like, on changes or do check?
Could you repeat the question, please, just to be sure that I understand?
So if you go back to the previous example where we had I think the data object.
Yep.
Yeah, so
with mark for check and change detection strategy on push. Yep.
So the on push one I get. I'm looking at the mark for check, right? How would this be different from using a lifecycle method? Instead of injecting the change detection strategy in the constructor, you then decide to use like a lifecycle method, something like NgZone changes or do check.
In this case, do check, lifecycle hook do check will not be executed at all. because do check is executed when you run change detection on component, right?
Correct.
So in this case, we switch it to on push strategy. We are saying that we don't want to run change detection each time. We want to run change detection only if input parameters changed. So, and we can do all the things inside do check callback. But if change detection itself wasn't executed on component, the hook will not be executed at all.
So that means, therefore, if we were not using the on push strategy, then the do check would just work fine.
Yeah, exactly. That we are using on push strategy exactly to do this optimization and not to run change detection each time, because for sometimes we don't need it. In most cases, I would say in most cases we don't need it. It's the same data, but Angular, just to be sure, runs it much more times that we actually need it. And with on push, it's more clever strategy. But also, I would say on push strategy requires more attention from you. You need to be sure that all your inputs where you use on push strategy, they are immutable data. Immutable, it means you are not changing the property of object, but you are changing, if you want to change the object, you change the object itself. That you are changing here, you are changing completely the link, not just the property. And in some cases where you have juniors in your team, it's much more easy and much more safe to just use default strategy. Because you could face serious problems when you, in some places, you switch on push strategy, but some of your juniors inside your team do not know about it, and they will write it without immutable objects. That's unfortunately Angular will not be able to control. That's only something that you can check on code reviews.
Okay. I think for me, my question would be, so in a typical use case, where would you use such kind of strategies? For example, like in a real world scenario. For example.
Like on push strategy is kind of default recommendation for all heavy projects. All heavy projects where you can control your team members to be sure that you're right, you are all agreed to write in the same way. So it could be used also, like, it doesn't mean if you are switching to change detection strategy on push, it doesn't mean that you need to switch all the components to this strategy. You can switch, you can start with most critical ones. And it's also possible. Again, you need to control your inputs. Sometimes when you have already big application with lots of modules, that's not realistic to rewrite it fast to on push strategy. But that's good that you can do it component by component. And you can start either with critical ones that are on top level, or you can start slowly with low level components on the bottom, that to be sure that they will not control the flow, and you are only, when you're changing something about this change detection, you are changing only about this component. So that's more safe way to refactor your code.
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
when you're analyzing for like performance and checking to see what's causing the degradation, is there a way for you to pinpoint that the issue might be with the change detection?
Have you tried already Angular developer tools?
I have. I've just never gotten to a point of analyzing that the change detection is the one causing the performance degradation.
Because they just published, and in Angular developer tools you can see the graph that shows you like each change detection cycle. And at some point, if it goes dramatically up, it means that something probably wrong with change detection. And well, also there are some techniques how to change the cycle. Well, but it's more like external script that you, or some console log commands that you. It's always difficult, and I'm really happy that Angular team provided now the tool that we can check with professional tool, not write some custom scripts to check it. But sometimes it's really a challenge to find that it was about change detection. Previously the normal approach, if you do not write specific scripts, you are going to performance tab in your web developer tools. You start recording your performance, and then you see the activity. You check the activity, and there you can see that sometimes you either have a lot of bars that change detection is running too often, or for some cases you have very long bars, and you go into it and see that for some change detection cycles you have heavy operations that should be optimized. So that's probably the answer.
Thanks.
Okay. So for me, I think another question is, so as we can see over here, right, we have instances where we just need something to happen with this, like within probably the child component, the parent component, and not run change detection on every component. So why did Angular in the first place have to implement change detection to happen for all components without some of these strategies in place?
I think they tried to make it as simple as possible. Angular framework, that what we started from the very beginning, trying to compare React and Angular, and why some developers are really scared to start with Angular. Try to imagine if we add also on-push change detection strategy from the very beginning. It's like one more level of not understanding what's going on. Why it doesn't work, why it doesn't run change detection. So they decided to make it more safe and to make life easier for junior developers that just want to create very specific, very simple application which doesn't need performance tuning.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you. Any other question from anyone? Okay.
I'll provide the link also to the presentation tokens. And I have question to audience also about what do you think is interesting topic for you, or what is completely unclear in Angular? Because I'm keep adding episode of Pro Screencast, and maybe I can cover some topics. So please share this if you have something in mind right now.
Yeah, anyone, by the way, you guys can unmute yourself, and yeah, you could probably give Stepan any ideas or like what exactly you think should be covered.
So, Wayne, I hope you can hear me. I'm actually
Yeah.
driving home
Oh, okay.
before curfew. So, the thing is, for me, I will, just a comment, because I've used change detection before. I've actually, in most of my projects, I've been using the on change detection. So, just a comment on saying, right now, I actually now understand how the whole thing, I understand it deeper in terms of how it actually does the change detection from the root component going towards the child component. So that was quite interesting. The other topic I would love to be covered would be on going back on observables, and especially to do with when you're trying to run multiple observables at the same time, trying to get results from each one of them. So, and probably a result from one observable depends on another. So
okay, I see. Yeah.
we get all mixed up in terms of what you want to achieve if you don't really understand how to go about it.
Okay, I see. It's more about RxJS and methods that you can use within RxJS, right? With something like fork join, zip, merge, switch map.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for your feedback. Probably I'll create also set of screencasts for interesting topic for RxJS.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yes, I think for me, it's kind of also the same as what Kevin was mentioning, because looking at how RxJS is being used extensively, and especially in Angular, it seems to be something that is very, very important, because I've been seeing some of the operators just, I think it's like share replay, there's the tab, there's finally, so, and I've been working with Firebase, and some of these operators are kind of like when I was looking at tutorials, they've been used extensively, but sometimes I'm like, okay, what's really going on? So like I have to like dive deeper, kind of like out and all that. So if there could be any way to make it more simpler, with illustrations, I don't know, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, good. I think that could be interesting topic to cover next.
Yes, and probably before the topic, we should share with you scenarios where it can actually be a practical thing. You'd want to achieve something, and you really don't know how to go about it, especially on the observable. And then the other question would be, is it at every scenario where you need to actually use an observable? Because I believe there are scenarios where you guys just misuse the observable part of it because they don't understand the concept of observable.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes developer doesn't understand the concept. He or she tries something and it works, but in fact it was not really correct usage of it, and yeah, that's good. That's good to provide real life examples to be more close to practical usage of observables, not pure theory. I agree.
Okay. Anyone else who has a comment or a question?
Do you have a series on web workers?
Sorry?
Do you have a
Could you-
series on web workers?
Sorry, something with my sound. I only hear web workers.
Do you have a series on web workers?
That's a good one. I don't remember. I will check whether I covered this topic. I'm usually covering. I have a long webinar for performance like tuning, and this topic is definitely covered in this long webinar. But whether I have it in my pro screencast episodes, that's I don't remember. Probably not yet. Web workers are not that complex in terms of usage, and Angular just provides schematics for web workers that you can just generate web worker, and some settings to compile it from TypeScript to JavaScript. But web worker itself is not really complex concept. I covered more complex one, like what we just checked, change detection and all the details, dependency injection, some tricky cases for dependency injection, and some router features. But you can, if you think that it's really important, you can cover it. Sorry, you can ping me also in Twitter, as I said, and I will add one more episode.
Will you be sharing your series? Do you have like a link?
Yeah, sure. That's what I shared from the very beginning.
Angular.ninja, right?
Yeah, that's a shortcut, or you just can YouTube my name with Angular in it.
Okay. If there's no other question or any other comment, okay. So before I close up the session, Stepan, do you have any closing remarks?
No, that was my general question about your ideas.
Okay.
For new topics and new screencast, and I think I got the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Once again, thank you, Stepan. This is the second time we're having you, and it's always amazing. You sharing with us your content. And personally,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've been having. I think my TL always blows up with different things in Angular, and I really try to understand what they're really all about. And zone.js was what it has been appearing on my timeline. I don't know why. But yeah, thank you very much for covering this. Because personally, as someone who's like has started like about 2 years ago, it's making now a bit more sense on how this works. And of course, having some of the gurus over here already, the likes of Kelvin and Drew. It's always amazing for them also to share their experience with working with such kind of strategies. And yeah, thank you again for coming. And yeah, we definitely hope to see you again. And for those who attended, of course, the video is going to be available on YouTube by tomorrow. I think it's in the afternoon. Yes. And we'll also have Stepan share his slides, if that's okay, Stepan.
Yeah, sure. That's yeah. I think that's important to review the materials after.
Yeah. So I will
and you also have your home task with this optimization application. The link is there in the slide.
Yes. So yeah, when you guys are done like with working on the home task, please feel free to even like share even on Twitter. You can tag Angular Kenya, and we'll love also to see the feedback from it's really amazing also seeing you guys share your experience even attending these events. So yeah, if you need more sessions to attend, we have a lot of we have more sessions coming up all through I think it's like the following 3 or 4 months. So just stay tuned, of course, on our Twitter channel, and we always share everything. And yeah, thank you once again for coming. And yeah, I would want to wish you all a good night for those here in Kenya. I don't know, Stepan, what time is it on your side?
It's 9:32 p.m.
Oh,
right now.
same as Kenya. Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So wishing everyone a good night, and yeah, thank you for coming.
Do giveaway.
We'll definitely plan that. Who knows? Maybe next week. Who knows? So be sure you stay tuned. Yeah.
Okay, see you all. Bye.
All right. Bye.